The European Cybercrime Center is a new entity. The European Union, I know it's not the biggest fan audience I have in the UK for that, but the European Union, they decided a couple of years ago that they probably need to get their acts together. We have, whether we like it or not, 28 countries, 24 different languages, 500 million people, 2.9 million police officers, and we are 78% wired and very dependent on the internet. As everybody has said here, this crime cannot be defeated by one single country, not the US, not Russia. It has to be done together. And I'll explain you why, and I'll also try to give you a feeling of why this will change the police and law enforcement landscape in the next coming years, because we are still trying to see if we can cut and paste our laws and ways of working from the old-fashioned physical crime to cybercrime, and that will not work. Why? Because if you do crime, or terrorism for that matter, in the physical world, there is a link, a geographical link between the perpetrator and the crime scene, right? If I want to kill somebody, rape somebody, rob somebody, if I want to smuggle females for prostitution or drugs, there is a person in the country. That's why the UK is so happy that they are an island. You can keep everybody out here, right? The problem is that cyber criminals, they roam, trap, and pinch. They do crime against anyone, everywhere, at any time, from a distance. They steal our information, our identity, all what we have that is needed, IPR, whatever, from a distance. The problem is that we'll not do it from our neighbor countries. UK and everybody else is a very good cooperation between our neighbor countries. We have conventions for this. We even extradite our own citizens. But these criminals will operate from outside the EU, I can assure you. So let's look a bit on the threat. This is the live internet usage any given day. This is where the internet is used now. 2.7 billion people online. This will grow to 4 billion people in the next 5 years. Now I'm a cop. It's a rhetorical question. Do you think we get more or less crime if we grow from 2.7 to 4 billion users? Well, I think we get more. And maybe, where will we get more crime? This is the income distribution globally. Who has the money? Who wants the money? So we have a number of challenges, and this is good statistics. This just tells us how much we, in this part of the world, use the internet. We are completely dependent on the internet, and we are online always, and we will move to mobile very, very soon. This will give a lot of challenges, not just for users, but also for me as a cop. Because normally, if I want to seize evidence, I seize something that is a computer. But in the future, because we go mobile, first of all, I have 144 apps on this. I have 3 bank applications and whatever. Everything I do is here. Because it's here, it's not secure. It can be misused. But secondly, we will move from downloading to streaming. Both terrorists and organized criminals will use cloud services to distribute their attacks and their malware. They will not use iCloud. They will not use Amazon Cloud. And they will not use Microsoft Cloud to do this. They will probably even build their own cloud systems in bulletproof way in host states that will not give them any nuisance or ask wrong questions. 219 terrorist attacks carried out in the member states, 437 individuals arrested, and court proceedings for terrorism charges concluded in relation to a total of 400 individuals. Not in one single, as I remember, cyber was the means of conducting terrorism. So here are some of the challenges. The challenge is what we see on the internet is an evil layer cake. We have a lot of state-sponsored activity. You've read about it. There will be lots of state-sponsored activity, both from western and from eastern parts of the world, and this will continue. And I can assure you we get our fair share of state-sponsored attack every day, and they are predominantly looking for IPR. New, clean engines, which if we produce good medicine, whatever, all this is a target. Nobody wants in these countries to do research and development. This is very, very costly. Why not just steal the whole thing? It's on the internet and you build your own engine or your own pill. So this is what we see here in this espionage, IPR, subversion, preparation for war clandestine operations. It's not a big surprise, at least not to me. Terrorist-related activity. These are what we see right now. It's trying to promote it. It's funding, facilitation, radicalization, and communication. This is clearly, you can see, cyber-facilitated crime. It's not cybercrime. So it's not cyber-terrorism. And the previous speakers also said that there was a lack of evidence in that area, and I can confirm that. Then we have extremist activity, left, right, and we still see the same modus as in terrorism, that they use it for reaching out radicalized youngsters and to raise funds and to communicate in a secure way through hidden or stealthy services that they know that the police have difficulties in interception. And then we have organized crime, which is by far the biggest problem in the internet and in cyberspace. Cybercrime, traditional, anything that can be done on a computer, but only on a computer. This is cybercrime. Cyber-facilitated crime is everything else. Let me give you two examples. Child sexual abuse is rape of children and babies in the physical world. You just use the internet to either distribute or to stream live rape so that you can interact with the rape and you can get whatever you want to get out of it. The second example is that we just recently had a case with a Romanian group of criminals that moved to the Dominican Republic. They're from the Dominican Republic. They ordered 5 debit cards from the Bank of Oman. A debit card, you know, is a card where there's only the amount on that you have, and this is what you can use. So they were 100 euros on each. Then they identified the Bank of Oman's cloud service provider. This was an Indian company. Then they hacked the Indian company. Then they went into their credit cards where there was in the tick box a debit card, 100 euros, and then they changed it to credit card unlimited withdrawal. That was quite clever. Then they cloned the card into 60 cards, and in 1 hour and 47 minutes before the system shut down, they managed to get 45 million euros out of the ATM cash machines. So why should you make a armored robbery, you know, with a hat on the head, 10,000 pounds, which is painted red, when you can do it in this way without even moving? So this is cyber-facilitated crime, and we also, unfortunately, see a lot of that. So will terrorists utilize the internet to conduct terror? At least I don't think we have seen any any real result of it, but of course we cannot exclude it. Will they use bits instead of bombs? They seem to like bombs right now, and they seem to like the impact of bombs much better than the impact of bits. So there is, in all the terrorist preparation I have knowledge of, and I used to be the director of operations in the Danish Security Intelligence Service, that they are still going very much for bombs, for shootouts, killing something that is very visual, and also create some kind of, let's say, more direct fear combined with the terror attack in cyberspace. But there is opportunities. There is a nation state who actually distributed Shamoon. Shamoon is a very, very, very bad hacking tool, because the problem is that they infiltrated Aramco, a Saudi Arabian oil company, with the effect for the first time only to destroy, not to steal information, but to destroy. This oil company had 32,000 computers. They couldn't even boot them in the morning. They took all of them and threw them out. All their servers, everything. So there is, of course, possibilities. If you are, there are the grids, traffic. Soon we will have everything also online in the traffic. You might even be able to stop a car while it's driving. Hospitals. Will there be extremists who is fond of animals who say, why should the animals suffer? Why not humans? Should we take out a hospital completely? And I just went through a heart surgery. That would be very unpleasant that during my heart surgery, at least, they cut the electricity to the hotel. There was no support system in place. So there is, of course, boats, many water supplies. And you can think about it, and I guess that there's a lot of people who actually thinks about what you can do. The problem is it realistic? At least I have no evidence that it's realistic right now. But does that mean we should not prepare for it? No, I don't think we should not prepare for it. I think very much we should prepare for it. And I think one of the biggest obstacles for fighting cyber terrorism or cyber crime is that there is no complete strategy for it, which is consolidated by a number of countries. Everybody does, and I think that the UK, they do what they can, and maybe Germany does in another way, and the Czech Republic a third way, and Sweden a fifth way. But I think that we very much need to actually do this in a consolidated way. And I think there are 4 areas that we need to look into. The first one is prevention. Prevention is about learning us as citizens, as users of all these smartphones, how to act, react, and interact with the internet. I have 2 daughters that uses social media 80% of their awake time. They have never received one single second of education in the schools. They've got many educations in all kinds of driving a bicycle, say, for not getting pregnant, which is also, of course, very helpful. But they have never been taught any second about how the internet. So they share everything, and most of us does. Is that what you actually want to do? And I also think that we need capacity building in the awareness session. So capacity building of police, of prosecutors and judges, but also in the private businesses. And I think we have also failed here. And I think that maybe we have started 5 minutes to 12, but I think we need to increase this. The second thing we could do is protection. To protect, to harden the infrastructure, much more than it is. Look at how many still uses Windows XP, even though everything has stopped, and now you have a very, very bad vulnerability in Explorer, and XP will even not be helped. I think that still 1/4 of all the original users use XP still, also in businesses, also in mid-sized businesses. Secondly, applications. I have 144 applications here on this one. And if you use an Android phone, Kaspersky have showed that maybe up till 80% of one type is pure malware. And you just download it, because how should you know? My rule of thumb is, if you get anything for free on the internet, you're the problem. So they want your information, and this is why they utilize this, either for good or bad purposes. The companies, because they need to see your behavior and what you shop and what you look at, and then they'll utilize advertisements, and the bad guys because they want to steal your information and your identity. So that was the protection, but we cannot just put more lead around the sheets. We also need to identify and hunt down rules. This is the third step. This is prevention, this is prosecution or a disruption. I'm not sure we can continue to police in the cyber world as we've done in the physical world, and there will be loads of cases that we will never investigate, simply because we cannot do it. How should we do it? If it originates from Kazakhstan, a criminal network affecting everybody, they will not extradite, right? So first of all, how will we do it? Translate everything into Russian and then send it to Kazakhstan and cross our fingers and hope that they will prosecute? Will this be a good model? And is this actually a feasible model? And this is a model that we have built our societies on, that you need to go to a court, and I prove, together with prosecution, to a judge without any doubt that there is an attribution. Everything is about attribution. But can we do this, and how will we do it? And will we just try to investigate us out of this, or do we have to disrupt? But if we want to disrupt, for instance, take out a mothership in another country, the command and control center, which utilizes a huge DDoS attack against our critical infrastructure, we better be prepared that maybe this country will do the same to us with the same right. So we have these 3. And the last point I would say is governance. Who owns the internet? Right now it's a multi-stakeholder environment that everybody owns, and ICANN tries to regulate it. So I am the voice of the European law enforcement, so we are very engaged in ICANN. Why? Because I need attribution. I need to make sure that if you get an IP address, that I know who's behind that IP address. Otherwise, I don't know it, and everybody is then protected, because I cannot prove without any reasonable doubt that you were behind the attack. So governance is also very, very interesting. So we have crossover problems also. As I mentioned earlier, in cyberspace you cannot see the motive immediately. You need to wait and see what is the purpose. Is this a nation state trying to steal your IPR? Is this organized criminal group? Is it a 16-year-old hacker sitting in his mom's home and just trying to play? Because everybody can do this at the internet. Why? because you just go on one of the stealthy services and you search for hacking tools. If I want to hack your Skype account, or your Facebook account, or your Twitter account, I just download a program, and I'll do this in 5 minutes from now. And I download it on the darknet, and everybody is in cyber expert. If you actually pay for the tool, you also get an SLA. So if it doesn't work, you get somebody that can help you make it work. So everybody is a cyber expert. And the problem again is, if you're a burglar, you can only rob one house at a time, right? Because you have to be there physically. But here, you utilize attacks against 1 million computers in 1 second, everywhere, against anyone at any time, and maybe you can even do it through stealthy services. So this will need to change our way of thinking. And I think that there is good use of cooperating this, because there will be so much to do, both for private industry, for the public, for law enforcement. And I agree with all the previous speakers. This is not a law enforcement task. This is a task for society. We need to do this together. And with all the Snowden revelation, which has made it very difficult for police sometimes to sell that we need to have information to do our job, I think that we can do two things. I can still try to argue that if you want a free and open and transparent internet, there is a trade-off. If you want to make it secure also, there must be some kind of trade-off. But in the physical world, you allow the police to arrest people, to make house searches, to block their phones, to follow their whatever, and even with a gun kill them, because you have an open and transparent police. Why can't we do some of these things in cyberspace also without any risks for anybody to lose their privacy? Not to look at every people in the world, but the dedicated one that we suspect of doing the worst crime. Otherwise, I think that the internet will be balkanized, and you will see borders at the internet, and the whole idea will completely vanish, and nobody wants that. Thank you very much for listening.